So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hooky back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, August 12th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Thursday, August 12th here today. Coming off of another day, another night last night in baseball. Obviously, the Yankees yesterday finished up their 3-game set against the Royals with the day game. The New York Mets were able to get the job done, comeback victory in the game that they resumed, and then they tried to play the next game, and it got rained on. So today, they'll play, looks like they'll play another doubleheader, and just kind of just more craziness for the New York Mets as they'll play yet again another doubleheader today. Just really how the season has gone for the Mets. Not very successful, the past couple games here. And, then you got all the doubleheaders, and it's just not been a successful season for the New York Mets. So they take the rain delay, or they had the rain delay too long. They end up going out and suspending the game, postponing that game till today. So they have a doubleheader today. The New York Yankees get the win. Yes, it wasn't the prettiest win ever, but they got it. Still 4 errors, or 3-4 errors, whatever it was. A lot of errors, a lot of mistakes. It wasn't the prettiest win, but I always say it. I will always say it. A win is a win, and no matter how you get them, no matter how close it was, no matter what the score was, a win is a win, and you gladly take the wins. And actually, we could all sit here and try to think of ways to criticize the Yankees. And sure, there's so many ways, but there's more so got to find ways to criticize the Royals, because Royals not taking advantage on all those chances they had yesterday. I mean, you have the error by Odor, which I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was miscommunication on him and Velasquez. They are new together, so it's going to take some time. I mean, I was watching a Dodgers-Phillies game last night, and there was a big Trey Turner not Cody Bellinger, Trey Turner and Seager play, Corey Seager, where Corey Seager was running in, Turner got in his way, and it ended up being safe. Seager, I believe, got an infield single. So, and Turner's usually a shortstop, they switched him second. So there's always going to be miscommunications, and Turner just came over at the deadline. So there's always going to be miscommunications. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a miscommunication. I don't know if Odor just thought that he was going to be able to get there. Either way, it was an error, and it was first and second, I believe, 2 outs, and Carlos Santana was one swing away from tying that game up, and that was how close it was. But the Yankees got the job done. We take the win 5-2, and we got the series win. So I wanted a sweep. We didn't get the sweep, but hey, we take 2 out of 3. And today we got the Field of Dreams game, which is just so exciting. Can't wait for the Field of Dreams game. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be like a great sight. It's going to be incredible to watch a baseball game tonight. Like this, I'm so excited to watch it. It really is going to be cool. Obviously, the Field of Dreams movie made up the field. We all know how that is. And then, right across the way, you got the MLB field tonight, so they'll be playing that. And it's the Yankees White Sox. And I know a lot of people always say, you'd rather just watch 2 separate teams play and all that stuff. I'm not like that. I would rather see my favorite team play at an historic game, whether that's the Field of Dreams game, the Yankees had the London games, whatever it is. I like to watch my teams play at the historic games. Like even in the NFL, London games are weird, but still, I know a lot of people say they get too caught up in the result, and they're not caught up in the site and where they're playing it at, but that's not me. I get caught up in all of it. So it's just baseball, and it's going to be fun to watch. So Yankees play today, Field of Dreams game, open up a weird 3-game set against the White Sox as they play today, then a very rare day off on a Friday, and then they have Saturday, Sunday. So they'll play today, Yankees then will have a day off tomorrow, and then they'll play Saturday, Sunday, which should be interesting, I would think. Having a day off, I don't think it's going to affect anything. It could only help us, actually, with our pitching shortage to get a day off. And, and Mets play a doubleheader today. Feels like they've played 50 of them this season, because they probably have. So they play again today. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast, the Thursday podcast. NFL's back today. 2 games on today. Pittsburgh versus the Eagles. So Steelers, Eagles, and Washington, New England. So 2 games on today. Preseason games. I'll get to those later on. Alrighty, so we got, I want to start off the podcast here. First topic up. We got 2 topics, obviously, as always. I wanted to start up here with James Harden and Kyrie Irving contract extension. So the Nets GM yesterday had an interview, kind of had a press conference. I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was the other day, I'm not sure. But he kind of laid out a lot. They asked him a lot of questions on the, different signings and the summer league and different players, kind of the situation of the team, the franchise, all sorts of questions, just his off-season type press conference. They all do it, all the GMs. I mean, the Rangers GM did it a couple weeks ago, Chris Drury, just explaining the draft, explaining the offseason so far, kind of why they made moves and all that stuff, just answering questions for the press so we can all get a better idea and better understanding of what's to come and what to expect and why they made the moves that they made. So in that press conference, he showed optimism that Kyrie Irving, James Harden would get contracts done before the season started. And he even said, not just before the season, but he said before training camp. So training camp's obviously like the NFL is doing. It's the time where you practice, get reps, and all that stuff, and then you get into preseason, then you get into the regular season, and so on and so forth. So he even said before training camp, but we're just going to all label it as before the regular season. We all know that a couple weeks ago, about a week or 2 ago, they extended Kevin Durant and gave him a big 4-year, $198 million extension, I believe. And now they're looking to extend Kyrie Irving and James Harden, who are the other 2 pieces of the big 3. And I'm super excited to hear this because we all talk about, super teams not lasting long and, super teams not lasting long and, lasting about 2-3 years. It seems like that's not going to be the case with the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm saying that right now. Who knows? If they don't make it this season, who knows what could happen. But we are talking about, now that there's extensions in play, it does seem like the Nets and, it does seem like that maybe this is going to last a little longer. So I want to get into this and talk about Kyrie Irving and James Harden. All right, then I want to get into the MLB Field of Dreams game. I wanted to talk about it, kind of give you a little bit of a preview, just talk about some baseball movies in general. A lot of good baseball movies out there. Should be an exciting game. Just talk about all different stuff. Then we'll get to that in the next topic. And then we'll finish off the podcast with a New York sports update and some NFL games on, like I mentioned earlier. So we've got 2 games on today. We got the Eagles and Steelers. Steelers already played. Not that it means anything, but if that does mean anything, they've already played. That comes on 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time today. And then you got Washington, New England, which comes on 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time today. And then tomorrow, you've got more games on tomorrow. You got Bills, Lions, Titans, Falcons, Cowboys, Cardinals, and then Saturday is really where you get a lot of games. Saturday is like the first Sunday, like the first weekend feel full of football. You get 1 o'clock games, some 4 o'clock games, some 7 o'clock games, and then you even get a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday. So Saturday the Jets will play against the Giants. So 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. And today we got 2 games on today. So the NFL's back. It's preseason, but still, it's football. I don't know how much I'll watch of today's games. I'll definitely get that Jets-Giants game, watch a little bit of that, and obviously, I'll probably get that through a phone and then Yankees on TV and all that stuff. Don't know how much I'll watch these games today because I'll be watching the Field of Dreams game, but I'll definitely get the updates and all that stuff. So, football's back. Football's right around the corner. College football's only 20-something days away. NFL is just about a month away. So, little by little here, we're getting back to football and, all off season of just talking about all different things. It's finally coming together here. So, with all that being said, like I said, Yankees Mets play today. Field of Dreams game. Get to that in the second topic. But yeah, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Nets GM optimistic Kyrie Irving, James Harden sign new contracts before season. So before season, before training camp, it's all the exact same thing. Like I said earlier, just about a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, you already know, I don't have to repeat myself. He had a press conference, and every GM usually does it. It's kind of like an off-season update press conference. Joe Douglas does it with the Jets. They all do it, and it's throughout the offseason, usually after free agency. If you make any major trades, the media wants to know why. The media wants to know what you think of, the trade and what you think of different things. And if you're planning on making any other moves to your roster, those are all questions that we all ask, and usually you get those answers in the press conference. And obviously a couple weeks ago, Kevin Durant signed an extension, 4-year, $198 million extension. I don't think I talked about it on the podcast, which is kind of surprising for me because I would talk about it. I knew about it. I just had so many other topics between the Yankees and other topics and football and stuff. It kind of got lost in the shuffle. But he signed a big extension a couple weeks ago. And then I was also talking about the Knicks and their moves because they made some big moves, all sorts of stuff. Because I talk about it all. Or try to talk about it all, I should say. Some stuff I miss here and there, but, I try my best to get as many major topics as I can. So, back to the Kevin Durant. So, they extended him 4-year, $198 million extension. That we already know all that. And, that was obviously that was really good news as a Brooklyn Nets fan. Because we always see this with superstar teams and super teams and big threes and, the Miami Heat big three. That only lasted about 3-4 years. You go to the there hasn't really been any other super team since. The Warriors, before they got Durant, they were still getting to the playoffs. It's not like they went out and got it's not like they went out and got 3 big name players. They already had Kyrie, they already had Clay, they already had some other guys. They went out and got KD. But KD was only there, too, for, about 3 years? But the Warriors, in general, were a super team. They were making it for, 4 straight years. In general, they were a super team. They didn't go out and buy. They did go out and get Kevin Durant, but it's not like they went out and got 2 other big-name players. They already had those guys coming up, drafted them, and all that stuff. So we see this with super teams a lot, where it only lasts a couple years. I always go back to, the Miami Heat big three. That was successful, but that didn't last 5-6 years. That lasted, about 3-4 years? And then, boom, just like that. LeBron was back with Cleveland, and now he's obviously on the Lakers. So we always see that. We see a lot of times with super teams, they don't last long. And that's where when you go out and try and buy your way to a championship, which is where you go out and you get the 3 biggest name players out there, maybe make a major trade. Kyrie and Kevin Durant came in through free agency, and then Harden came in through the mid-season trade last year. That we all know blew up the basketball world. And at first, I despised the trade, and now I love the trade because you could say arguably Harden's been the best. You could say Harden and KD have been the best impact players on the team. Nothing against Kyrie, but, you could say that. Looking at the numbers and looking at the way they've played and the way they've meshed together. So when you go out and buy, and try to get super teams, it's always, and anytime you go out and buy, it's always a risk. It always is. You could go back to any time. You can go back to any time with any team. When they went out and bought and maybe it doesn't work out, it's always a risk. You're always taking a risk. I always find it's a high risk, high reward because you're taking a risk of it blowing up in your face, you spending a ton of money, maybe giving up a year's worth of draft picks and prospects and all different guys here and there, and it could blow up in your face, or you could give up all that and you could have 3 championships in 4 years. That's kind of the difference. And the Nets did not win the championship last season, but this super team is starting to feel a little bit different. Now, I don't know if you can consider us a super team yet, we are a big 3, but I don't know if you consider us a super team yet because we haven't won a championship yet. I don't know if it's fair to say we are a super team. Like the Chicago Bulls, they're a super team. They're a dynasty. The Warriors are a modern-day dynasty. The New England Patriots are a dynasty. Don't know if you can't consider the Nets a dynasty yet or a super team yet because they haven't won a championship. Now, do they have the pieces? Do they have the guys? Yes, they do. But this shows us as Net fans, which is why we should be really happy to hear that extensions are in the works. That maybe this is a big 3, kind of a super team in the works that is going to last longer than many maybe expected. Because now we extended Kevin Durant for a 4-year deal. And I believe he's still on the last year of his deal now. So coming up will be the 4-year deal. Something like that. And we are going to now look like we're going to try and extend James Harden and Kyrie Irving. And that's something that's crazy because usually these guys come over, give us a 2-year contract and see how it goes. And, and maybe those 2 years are it. Now it's almost like that's not the case. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant are going to be with the Brooklyn Nets for a really long time now. for the next couple seasons. And I know you can go back and go to the history and say, oh, well, Kevin Durant said this, and he did this, and he was with Oklahoma City, and now he's with Golden State, or then he was with Golden State, and he only was there for a couple years, then he went to the Nets, and this and this and this and that. Yeah, but now he's signing an extension. He's getting his other two teammates to be extended, and the Nets are working on an extension. So this seems like this has the making of a more extended Big Three type super team. An extended superstar level team. And last season, we did not win a championship, obviously. Now, the big thing with the Nets, and the big thing, you could say this about almost any team in the league, you could say this. It's health. If you can stay healthy, you're going all the way. You know, if you're a really good team. Right? If the Nets stayed healthy last season, if Kyrie Irving doesn't get injured, or even James Harden's 100%, they probably beat the Bucks in that Game 7. If you go back and you even look at, I don't know, there's so many other teams out there that you could look at and see that, if they stay healthy. That's the big thing with the Nets here, though, is if they can stay healthy. We're not doubting the talent. Kevin Durant's the best player on the planet. James Harden's a top 10, top 5 player in the league. And so is Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving had a big year last year. So, as much as everyone might want to criticize and say, if the Nets stay healthy, they're the best team in the NBA. Hands down, best team in the league. The reason we did not make the playoffs last season was because of injuries. Kyrie Irving gets hurt, sprained ankle. You had bad sprained ankle too. I mean, you saw that. Harden gets the hamstring injury. He comes back, tries to play. You knew Harden was not himself, holding on to the ball longer, wasn't driving as much, wasn't shooting as much as usual, but that was kind of how he did with the Nets anyway. Gave the ball a lot. He held on to it a lot. He kind of was undecided every time he got the ball. He just wasn't the same player. But the fact that he was out there and another body out there was big. That's the big thing with the Nets, is if we can stay healthy. And we all knew that going into last season. It's not that we're not doubting any of the talent. We know the talent's there. We know the coaching's there. I mean, let's be honest here. Basketball, you don't really need any star coach to lead you anywhere. I mean, Frank Vogel is the Lakers coach. You really think he's having a big impact on that team? No. It's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You could sit here and make a million arguments, okay? No matter who you put at the coach, it's doesn't matter. Frank Vogel, sure, he's just there. I mean, same thing with Steve Nash. It's just how it is. You could put anyone a head coach. It's for the Lakers, for example. You could put anyone a head coach. LeBron and them are going to lead the way. Same thing here with the Brooklyn Nets. You could put anyone a head coach. They'll lead the way. Now, they want a guy that's going to be liked in the locker room and a guy that they know, and obviously that wasn't in Kenny Atkinson. They went out and got Steve Nash. But if the Nets stay healthy, they're a championship team. And they were almost a championship team when they didn't stay healthy. So, it's great to see that they're going for extensions, because now you look at it and you say, okay, now this year, now it's still a big year. Every year is big for big name teams. But now you look at it and you say, okay, well, this season we've got big name. This season, this is our second year. And a lot of times second years are big years for what they want to call a big name, like a super team. Those are big years. It's usually the second and third season. But now with extensions, and now with looks like they are going to go for the long-term thing, well, now, not that this year isn't a big year, but it's not like a winner blow everything up type season. Because it looks like the Nets now are going to play the long game. And it looks like James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are going to be Brooklyn Nets for a really long time. And that's exactly what we needed to hear. Because all the time, super teams last and big threes last only about 2-3 years. Look at it with the Clippers. This is probably it for them. If they don't have a big year this season, that team could get crushed. 2 years in, they have not yet won a championship. This is the most pivotal year this year for the Los Angeles Lakers. And now for the Brooklyn Nets, it's a little different because they're playing the long game, and it looks like Kevin Durant wants to stay, Kyrie Irving wants to stay, and James Harden wants to stay. And I think James Harden had most of them because he just needed out of Houston. He needed a fresh start. He got a fresh start. All three of these guys now seem like they're really, really bought in to what the Nets are building and ultimately bought into buying or bought into getting a championship. And they're buying, and they are buying. They're going out and getting guys like Patty Mills and other guys like that. And this is big news to get to the extensions. If the Nets just stay healthy, if the big three stays healthy, not big one, not big two, if the big three stays healthy, the Brooklyn Nets are, I think, the most talented roster. You look at the three guys, the three best guys, they're all top 5, top 10 players in the league. And you can make the case last season that 2 of the 3 were MVP candidates. I think you can make the case that James Harden was an MVP type player, and you can make the case that Kevin Durant. Nothing against Kyrie, but I think just the impact that Harden made, right? I think all 3 of these guys, they all complement their game well each other. They all do. And that's simple as that. It's the injuries. As long as they stay healthy, we'll be all right. Right? I find that happens a lot in sports. And even any other sports, right? Any other sports. Like, I find myself, half my worries as a sports fan is injuries. I find that these days. Like, it really is. Mets fans must be going through a lot when you see Jacob deGrom pitching as well as he is and he gets injured. And it's like, oh gosh. And that's always how it is. That would literally, like that, those things always cross your mind. Injuries. And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And you try not to think about it, but it's like, when it happens, it's like, wow. Like that's what happened last season. When Kyrie went down, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, and I knew he was going to be done because it was awful. His ankle got completely, turned around. But when he went down in the playoffs, I was like, wow, this is really how it is. Like, you're watching and you're hoping and you're doing all this and this and this and this, and then you're watching and you see him go down like that, and you're like, oh, well, and you just take a big gulp and you're like, down to 1.5 of the big 3 because James Harden wasn't 100%. KD was. KD put it all out there on the line. And, that's kind of how it was. So, yeah. So, this is great. I really am very, very excited about this. I think this is showing that this team is here to stay. And then the Brooklyn Nets and James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant are all buying in. And that's how I believe. All right, so Nets GM optimistic Kyrie Irving, James Harden sign new contracts before season. Brooklyn Nets general manager Sean Marks likes his chances of signing both Kyrie Irving and James Harden to contract extensions soon. Marks said Wednesday he is optimistic he will be able to get deals done with Irving and Harden before the start of the 2021-2022 season. That means Marks has about 2 months to work on new contracts with both players, as the 2021-2022 season is scheduled to start in October. Irving signed a 4-year, $136.5 million contract with the Nets in free agency in 2019 after spending 2 seasons with the Boston Celtics. As of now, Irving could become a free agent at the end of the 2021-22 season since he has a player option for 2022-2023. Harden signed a 4-year, $171 million extension with the Houston Rockets in 2017, and the Rockets subsequently traded him to Brooklyn last season. Like Irving, Harden can become a free agent at the end of the upcoming season because of his player option for 2022-2023. So they become free agents. That's where it doesn't get great because then, they're free agents, and if they decline their player option, then everyone's going to be all in. So, you got to look at it as... you gotta look at it as this way. You gotta look at it as you need to get a deal done definitely before the season starts. So then this eliminates the free agent part of it. Alrighty, let's see, where was I? Okay, after acquiring Harden and adding him to the core that already included Irving and Kevin Durant, the Nets were favored to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals last season. Both Irving and Harden missed time during the playoffs. However, the Nets were knocked off by the eventual NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. While it was a disappointing end to the season for Brooklyn, there is plenty of optimism that the Nets can go the distance in 2022, provided their big 3 stays healthy. That's the biggest thing. Stays healthy. If they're healthy, they'll be good. Simple as that. There's no scientific mathematical equation to it. if the big three stay healthy, they're going to win a championship. I mean, not much else you got to say. Really is. Not much else. Durant has shown time and time again that he is one of the best players in the world, and he proved it again in the 2021 Summer Olympics in Tokyo by leading Team USA to the gold medal. Injuries have limited Irving to just 74 games in his 2 seasons with the Nets, but he has been productive when healthy and was named an All-Star for the 7th time last season, thanks to averages of 26.9 points, 6 assists, 4.8 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. Harden was the unquestioned go-to guy during his 9 seasons with the Rockets, leading the NBA in scoring 3 times and winning an MVP award. Impressively, he adapted once heading to the Nets and became more of a playmaker. His 24.6 points per game were down nearly 10 points from the previous season, but his 10.8 assists and 7.9 rebounds per contest were the second highest rates of his career. Durant, Irving, and Harden barely played together as a trio last season because of injuries, but when they did, the Nets often looked like an unstoppable force. Brooklyn will have a chance to vie for a championship in 2021-2022, no matter what happens on the contract front. But if the Nets want their championship window to be open for multiple years, getting new deals done with Irving and Harden is vital. Like I said, it is big. Like I said that earlier. This is big because you can't let Harden and Irving be free agents next season and let the rest of the league get the opportunity to sign them. You can't have that happen. So get extensions done now. Your championship window goes from about here to all of a sudden really to already here. And hey, you got your stuff like it is. And another thing is they get a full off season. You know, Harden coming in during the year and trying to fit in, and there's going to be always bumps in the roads. Now that you get a full off season with each other, you get a full off season of training and working, and you start to really mesh well with each other's games. That's really when we'll see what this real team can be. I mean, this says it all. This right here says it all. No matter what happens on the contract, but if the net, this is what it is. Durant and Harden barely played together as a trio last season because of injuries. If they stay healthy, they'll be good. But this is what also says. But when they did, the Nets often looked like an unstoppable force. It's the truth. I mean, you're talking about the arguably three top 5, top 10 players in the league. You know, I think Kevin Durant's easily top 3. I mean, you could say that Kevin Durant's the best player in the league. Best player a lot of people consider Kevin Durant, you could say, is the best player on planet Earth right now. You could say he's the best player on the planet right now. So, same thing here with Harden and Kyrie. You know, they're also arguably some of the best players out there. And you get them locked up for a couple more seasons, your championship window grows immensely. It does. It grows a ton. But, you know, all these people out, you know, a lot of people always say, oh, this and this and this about the big three, and it's not going to work, and this isn't going to work, and because of this guy did this, and this guy plays like this, and this guy does this. You know, the only way this big three doesn't work, and this is why it didn't happen last season, is because of injuries. Like I just said about 2 minutes ago. There's no scientific mathematical equation to it. You don't need a whiteboard and write down all these equations and all that stuff to get an answer. No, it's not it. It's injuries. If they stay healthy, if they stay on the court together, if they continue to build chemistry together, they'll be just fine and they'll be hoisting up a trophy at the end of the season. It's as simple as that. And I shouldn't even say throughout the year, but just stay healthy, especially stay healthy in the playoffs. If you miss some games periodically throughout the season, it's not going to end the world. But it's not the end of the world. But if periodically throughout the season, if you miss a game here or two, it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying all these guys have to play all 82. It's not going to happen. But I'm telling you this: just stay healthy, especially in the playoffs. You can't go down in the playoffs, and that's what happened last season. We saw that. So I think it's big. Got to play the long game, and if we get these deals done, they stay healthy throughout the season, especially in the playoffs, and it's a team that's more than capable of winning a championship. And the championship window goes from about here to out here. Couple more, 3-4 more years if we get these extensions done. So, Sean Marks definitely giving us optimism as Nets fans and optimistic that deals will get done. And, you know, a lot of times basketball is like this where if a player does well, or not player does well, if a teammate or a player already signs, Kevin Durant, he already signed his extension. Irving. I sorry to say Harden and Irving at the same time. Harden and Irving, they also will probably sign their extensions. They do a lot of what each other's does. KD signs the extension. Okay, well, Irving and Harden, let's sign ours. Basketball is one of those sports that players have a ton of control. Like baseball, on the other hand, if one guy signs an extension, I don't know if you'll see another guy sign a big extension. Basketball, though, that's how you see guys calling each other up, saying, oh, let's team up here and do this and that. Like, that's how it is. And the same thing here. KD signs an extension. Well, I very well could have communicated with Harden and Irving, and it looks like they'll be all in there for the long game. And big-time championship window now. So, I think this is great news, and I'm excited. And, as long as these deals can get done before the season, because I've always said it, I cannot stand when deals are being talked about throughout the year. As long as they get done throughout the season, that's big. So last season, James Harden, I'll read their quick stats here. 24.6 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, 10.8 assists. He's 31 years old, so if you lock him up for another 3-4 years, he turns 32 in August 26. So actually, he'll be 32 for the start of this season. So 35, 36 by the end of the contract, you would say, which would just be about it. I mean, and that's, that's just about it then. Alrighty, so let's get to this. So last season, he played 36 games with the Nets. 8 with the Rockets. It got traded. So, yeah, he played 36 games with the Nets. And 36.6 three-point percentage, which he's always been known for. He shoots a lot. 85.6 free throw percentage. And then he had 10.9 assists. And 24.6 points, which is a lot. So, then you look at some of the other seasons where he put up a lot of points per game. Well, 25.1 points per game throughout his career. And the guy who averages in his career 6.5 assists and 5.5 rebounds, he had 8.5 rebounds and 10.9 assists. So, on this 7.9 rebounds, it all is the same. So, yeah, so that's James Harden stats. Obviously, had a good season last year, and especially when he came over to the Nets. Because we all knew he was done once. We all knew he was done with the Rockets. We all knew it. Last season, Kyrie had 26.9 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 6 assists. His 26.9 points per game were top 10 in the league. Plays 2 seasons so far with the Nets. And, just look at 40.2 3-point percentage. His 3-point percentage went way up this season. Like, it's been much better. He had a very good year. Kyrie he put together a really good season. Like, he did. And a lot of people are going to talk about Harden and KD and with the playoffs and KD's success. Kyrie had a really good year. I mean, he had career numbers in a lot of categories. Which is, I know Kyrie has a bad reputation around the league, and I like Kyrie. I do. I mean, I think his whole personal reasons and all that stuff is interesting with the whole sitting out and all that stuff. When he's out there, though, and he's healthy, he's a good player. And you can't doubt the talent. I think a lot of people do that when you talk about the big three. Take out the fact that all these guys just went to the Nets and it's a big three. If you just talked about these 3 players alone on themselves, they're all 3 very good players. I mean, they're all 3 arguably some of the best players in the league. And, it's just as long as they could stay healthy and as long as they could, stay healthy and chemistry together and do all that stuff. I mean, KD and Harden played together in Oklahoma City. KD and Irving obviously played together earlier in the year, and now they're all playing together. So they've all played with each other somehow, some way. And in last season, they also all played each other, but not many games. So more games you get on your belt, the more they get going. And, hey, things looking really up when it comes to the contracts here. So great news on the Brooklyn Nets side of things. Great to see deals getting done. And, Alrighty, so coming up next here, I wanted to get into the Field of Dreams game, talk about all of the just different movies, talk about the game, Yankees, White Sox, talk about it all. MLB Field of Dreams game tonight's going to be super, super fun. We'll get to that coming up next. Alright, so welcome you back here. Yes, tonight is the Field of Dreams game for the MLB. We all know Field of Dreams, the famous baseball movie, cornfields, back a little further down the road now, a little further back now. One of the greater baseball movies out there. There's been a lot of really, really, really good baseball movies out there. There's been a lot of good movies overall. When you look at, there's been some good football movies, some good basketball movies. So basketball, you have some good movies. The two Space Jam movies are the biggest ones, and the one that just came out a couple weeks ago it's the two biggest basketball movies. But there's some good football movies like Waterboy and Remember the Titans and all those different movies. And you get into the Field of Dreams, and you get into baseball movies, which baseball has probably got the best movies. You got Sandlot, you got Field of Dreams, you got Major League, you got Bad News Bears, two of those. You got, even if you want to call this like an MLB movie, you got, Benchwarmers, which is a baseball movie. It's not really MLB, nor is Field of Dreams, but Major League, obviously, Bad News Bears, and I'm sure there's tons, but those are about the top 5, top 10 of them. No particular order. I just named them right off the top of my head. So tonight they will be playing a baseball game at Field of Dreams. So it's pretty cool how they set it up. It's at not out the exact Field of Dreams site. It's like right across the way. So pretty much like this is the Field of Dreams, like where the movie was filmed, that little baseball field where the guy built it for the team. And then you have the cornfields, and you have the field like right over here. So it's not like across the street or, near it or up. It's literally like you could see the field right from where the MLB field is at. So it's going to be super cool. That's tonight, 7 o'clock on Eastern, 7:15 Eastern on Fox, and it's the Yankees-White Sox. So that should be a fun game. And we see this a lot of times in sports, where it happens in all sports. You see NHL has the Winter Classics and the Winter Classics. You saw this year, you had a Winter Classics in Lake Tahoe. I believe it was Lake Tahoe, I believe so. If I'm wrong, you could, don't quote me, I think it was at Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe. You see in the NBA, the NBA doesn't have as much, I would say. Sometimes they go overseas for they'll go overseas for preseason games, but nothing too crazy either for the NBA. You go to the MLB. The MLB's had some pretty cool games over the years. You had the London games. You now have the Field of Dreams. I'm trying to think of some other games I could think of. There's sure there might be some others. Every league has an all-star game too, which is always fun. Then you get to some of the MLB, NFL. You got the London games, same thing with the MLB. They went to London that one year. You got the London games in the NFL. That's really it for the NFL. Other than that, you did have the Mexico game a couple seasons ago. But other than that, that's kind of it. The baseball, though, with the London game a couple years ago, Yankees, Red Sox, that 2-game set there. And now you got the cornfields and the Field of Dreams game. I've always liked this. Nothing against regular stadiums, but whenever you're watching sports, and then whenever you're, watching sports and every time there's a special event, it gets you that much excited for the game. Not just the fact that it's the Yankees and the White Sox, and if this was at Yankee Stadium or not, wherever this would be, this could be in a Little League field somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Wherever this field is being, this is a big series. This isn't and that's where I also kind of want to bring it in. Yes, it's at the Field of Dreams, and yes, it's a cool event and all that stuff. Yankees can't take this series lightly. It's a series that the Yankees got to get the job done. It's a big series. You're going up against arguably one of the best teams in the league, a Chicago White Sox team that's got a really good pitching staff. We'll see Lance Lynn on the mound today, who arguably is probably the AL Cy Young favorite. It's not going to be an easy matchup. This is a 3-game set that the Yankees got to get the job done. You can't go in here, lose today, lose the next 2 Saturday and Sunday, and get swept against Chicago. It can't happen. So it's at the Field of Dreams, and I think the event and the whole, the really nice stadium and all the stuff leading up to it is great. But when it's game time, Yankees got to be ready to go, and that's something that you always got to bring into consideration. I think maybe the result of the game might get lost in the mix of the whole field and the whole experience, and just all this different stuff that comes with having a special event. And now, Yankees is a big series, though. But I've always liked it when any of the sports teams do it. The Winter Classics is great. Great experience. Stadium series for the Winter Classics, great too. When they play outside, that's awesome. That brings you back to when you're young and you're playing hockey. Like when these guys are growing up and you're just getting on skates and you're playing hockey in the cold when it's snowing, that's it. Like that's what's always so exciting. And that's the same thing here with this game. Like it's almost like the Sandlot too. It's like, a lot of times, these baseball fields, they're not the best things ever. I mean, sometimes they're just a little dirt area. You put down some throw down bases and boom, you got yourself a field. And that's what's so cool is, for a movie that was like that, where the guy, built the field, and the fact that the field is still there, and there was actually a team playing on it yesterday, a younger team, not like an MLB team, but like a younger team playing on it yesterday. I believe it was like 14U baseball was there, was playing on it, and it was actually at the site of the Field of Dreams movie, which isn't the best field ever. I mean, it's an older field, but just the experience and knowing that, the game's going to be played over there in the cornfields. That's one of the most famous parts of the movie is the cornfields, and that's one of the more famous parts here is the cornfields too at the Field of Dreams as well, is the cornfields. Now, unlike the London series where it was a lot of home runs, a lot of runs were scored, the fences were not very long, this is not going to be like that, I don't believe. I believe it's more like a realistic field. I mean, they've been working on this. This was supposed to happen, I believe, last year. And then COVID hit, the shortened 60-game season. That never happened. So they rescheduled it, and now it's happening this year. So the wait has been really on for about a year now. So they put a lot into this field. They put a lot of effort into this field. They've had about a year, 2 years to make this field because they had an extra year to prepare for it with, obviously, last season and getting postponed and all that stuff. So the fact that they're having this game this year, it's like super, it's really cool. And I think the field looks really nice. I've seen a couple pictures of the field already. It's almost like a minor league field in a way. It looks like you got the seats on the side behind home plate and up the third base and first base lines. And then you got the cornfield and the fence and all that in the outfield. And it's pretty cool. You've got the bullpens are all the way set up in the outfield. So you usually see the bullpens in right center, left center, or down the third base and first base lines. It's right smack dab in center field. So the bullpens are in center field, which I thought was pretty cool setup because in a regular MLB game, usually they are in left field and right field, or left center, right center, or right center, left center, I should say. Like the Yankees home bullpens right center, and then the away bullpens left center. You see some stadiums, you still see some. Rays and Oakland A's, I think, are the only two teams, because I believe the Giants switched. Maybe, I don't know if the Giants have switched yet, I'm not sure, but they have it on the side. They actually have it outside, like old school style. You got like the Orioles, for example, their bullpen setup's interesting. You got the Orioles on the bottom, and then you got the opposing team on the top, so you got to take stairs down to get onto the field. That's an interesting bullpen. Bullpens are always the interesting thing, like how are they set up? Wrigley, it's actually like inside of the wall, so they used to be on the side as well. They end up moving them. So Wrigley, it's actually inside of the the wall. Like, there's actually a door that opens up and you come out. And you can watch the game inside. It's literally inside. It's not like outside or something like that. It's inside. I'm just thinking of some other. Indians have a pretty cool bullpen setup. It's like right up against the fans. It's like literally right up against the fans. It's like, and you have the two teams, and then you got to walk down. Pretty cool. So bullpens are always pretty cool. But I thought it was pretty interesting that they're all the way in center field. And you got, I don't know, Yankees. Well, if Yankees, White Sox, or White Sox, Yankees, something like that. However it is. Yankees are considered the away team in this series, so they'll be the away team. Yankees will be on one side, but it's in center field. So I thought that was interesting to see the bullpen setups. One of my favorite parts of the stadium, because we don't see this often, right? Baseball, when you think about baseball, right, you go back and you think of many different things, and baseball is America's pastime. When you think about, some of the scoreboards, and nowadays you got all the electronical scoreboards, and you got the jumbotrons, and you see that in all sports. You see it in the NFL. You got the massive scoreboards that look that you wish you could have in your living room to watch a game on. You have all those big those scoreboards would tell you that all these different things. There's only a couple stadiums out. There's only about 2 stadiums out there that are the old scoreboards, and that's Fenway Park, where they got the scoreboard in the Green Monster, that's the scoreboard in the Green Monster, which is like you got the You got the plates where someone's actually inside the Green Monster. You got the plates, and you got, I don't know, if they put a 5 runs, you put a number 5 there, all that stuff. So that's a manual scoreboard. And then in Wrigley Field as well, I don't know if they still have it, but I believe they still have a manual scoreboard there as well. And then you got, now here at Field of Dreams, you got a scoreboard that's going to be manual. So I believe, if I remember correctly looking at the field, I believe that there's no Jumbotron there. It's all old school. It's going to be the manual scoreboard in right field, going to be a little farther back, that says Yankees, White Sox, and that's going to be there, and then everything else. And I think that's really cool because, now, you see all the technology and how everything's evolving, and, back then they had none of that. I mean, back then people were listening to the games on the radio, and you had a manual scoreboard, and you had a guy doing it, and now you don't see that often in the MLB, only about 1-2 stadiums, and obviously this one as well. So that's pretty cool. Given that Field of Dreams is an older movie, they put the old school type to it. Both teams will be wearing some old school uniforms. So the Yankees will have their old school uniforms on, their old school away uniforms, the ones from back then. White Sox will have some old school home uniforms on. So those will be pretty cool. That's going to be exciting. I think that should be exciting. I think it's going to be cool. And I believe if I can get it up here, I'm not sure if I will be able to get it up. Field of Dreams dimensions. So let's see here. Sorry. So these are the dimensions for Field of Dreams. So the game which will take place at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox, is being played in Dyersville, Iowa. So Iowa, in the cornfields, we all know Iowa, very rural. That's the score. I'm not going to show you the scoreboard because you probably won't be able to see it, but the scoreboard's up there. It's like this old wood thing. So the dimensions are like this. So the stadium was built just for this game and holds 8,000 seats, which is much bigger than anything the movie Field of Dreams used on Ray Kinsella's farm. The iconic field used for the movie adjacent to the stadium. So the stadium Thursday's game is 335 feet down the lines, 380 feet to the alleys, and 400 feet to the center. It is a 12-foot wall in center and a smaller 7-foot walls in the corners. The broadcast is going to be somewhat unique, Fox putting a lot of resources into production. Dozens of cameras and microphones, multiple aerial drones, and stylized graphics to fit the theme will make for an unusual viewing experience. Plus, the game will be available in 4K HDR. Don't know what that is. But I did see that yesterday, actually. So if you watch I saw some highlights of the younger game that was going on at the actual site of where the movie was filmed. And the scoreboard's different. Like, it's an old school scoreboard. It's not like the regular Fox scoreboard. It's actually like an old school scoreboard. I don't know if they're going to use that again, but that's what it looked like yesterday. It's like an old school scoreboard. You got the bases. You got the team on it. It's like so simple. I believe they'll be using that. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that will be it. Lance Lynn is starting for the White Sox, which will be the home team against Andrew Heaney for the Yankees. Lynn was a late switch after Carlos Rodon, the originally scheduled starter, went on the injury list on Wednesday. Lynn is the MLB ERA leader. The White Sox have been good against lefties for the past couple seasons, and that might be more true now that standout right-handed hitters Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert are back in the lineup after extended injuries. So the White Sox are favored at -160 on the money line, while the Yankees are at +135. The total is 9.5. For the game and all that stuff. So those are all the different betting things on it. But yeah, so the field, yeah. So unlike the dimensions for the London game, where dead center was like 385, this one's actually 400. So it's more like an MLB stadium. They had a lot of time to make it. And it looks awesome. It looks awesome. It's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a good game. And, I hope it's a good game. I hope that it's not a blowout by the 5th inning. It's like 10-0. I'm hoping for a good game. Obviously hoping for a Yankees win. But hoping for a good game. I think it would be fun. I think a great thing would be, I think the greatest part of this game would be if there could be a walk-off home run. Not for the White Sox, for the Yankees. Or the Yankees can't actually have a walk-off home run, rather. But, if it ends in, like, a dramatic fashion. Not saying a walk-off home run, but if it ends in any dramatic fashion. Like, bases loaded, 2 outs, and, whatever it is. I hope for a close game because, whenever you hype up an event this much and whenever you talk about an event this much and talk about all different things and all that stuff, like whenever you do that, like when the fans are hoping for a good game. And if it's like 10-0 in the bottom of the second, that's not good. So hoping that it's a close game. I'm hoping for a good game. I think it's going to be awesome. One of the best baseball movies out there. I'm going to be honest, not going to sit here and lie to you. I never seen Field of Dreams. I have seen the trailer. I have seen many clips. Probably the amount of clips I've seen, I could probably match them together. I've probably watched maybe the whole movie by just watching in clips, but I've seen different clips and seen all that stuff. I know the storyline of it. I thought about watching it before this game, but fine, probably not. I've seen Major League. I've seen Bad News Bears. I have seen Sandlot. I believe I've seen Sandlot. I think I've seen Sandlot. I know what it's all about. I believe I've seen Sandlot. I could tell you many different events that happened. I just don't vividly remember watching it. I do, but seen Major League, Sandlot, Field of Dreams never seen, but I've seen Bad News Bears. If you want to count Benchwarmers one, both Bad News Bears, the one where they were at the Astrodome, and then the other one. So seen both of those. A lot of great all-time baseball movies, and I think it's pretty cool. And, who knows if the MLB does something like this down the road where maybe it goes to another site of another movie and does something. But this is so iconic because it's at the Field of Dreams. It's in the cornfields. There's a lot of history behind this movie. Like, I guess you go to where the Sandlot was filmed, but, just this is a little different because there's a lot of iconic parts that it is, and it's just, I don't know. It's a little different. And I feel like with this being the main one, like, I don't know if you do another one at another site of a baseball movie, I don't know if it's going to get as much hype as this one is. So, we'll see. But it's going to be fun. And with that, we can kind of get into our New York sports update here. And the Yankees, I'll do the game first here. Yankees play today against the White Sox. White Sox come in this game 67. Yankees come in this game 63-51. White Sox come in this game 67-48. This game goes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. First pitch, I think, is like 7:15 because they're going to do some introductions, and it's going to be more of like a special type of broadcast. So Yankees got Andrew Heaney on the mound. He's 7-8 with a 5.45 ERA, and the White Sox got on the mound Lance Lynn. He's 10-3 with a 2.04 ERA. Over-under for this game is 9.5. And, 73% of people saying the White Sox will win. I don't feel crazy optimistic that the Yankees are going to win, but give me the Yankees. It's the Field of Dreams game. Why not? Alrighty, so let's get to the rest of the New York sports update here. Yesterday, the Mariners won, Giants won, Blue Jays won, Dodgers won, Braves won, Tigers won, A's won, Brewers won, Red Sox won, Cardinals won, Marlins won, Cheaters won, and Twins won. Mets won yesterday 8-7, so the Mets moved to 57-55 on the season. Yankees also won yesterday 5-2. They moved to 63-51 on the season. As for today, we got the Cardinals, Pirates. I'll give Cardinals the win. Dodgers, Phillies, give Dodgers the win. A's, Indians, give A's the win. Let's see here. So A's, Indians, I'll give A's the win. Brewers, Cubs, give Brewers the win. Orioles, Tigers, give Orioles the win. Mariners, Rangers, give Mariners the win. Rays, Red Sox, give Rays the win. Let's see. Braves, Reds, give Braves the win. Blue Jays, Angels, give Blue Jays the win. Padres, Diamondbacks, Padres the win. And Giants, Rockies, Giants the win. And the Mets have doubleheaders today. So the Mets play, this first game will be, Nationals coming into the first game, 15-63. This comes on today, 12:10 p.m. Eastern time on MLB Network. You'd also find it on SNY. And the Mets come in this game 57-55. Washington's got Nolan on the mound, and the Mets got Marcus Stroman on the mound. He's 7-11 with a 2.84 ERA. The over-under for this game is set at 6.5. 64% of people think the Mets will win. Give me the Mets for the first game and Nationals for the second. I think they split. Actually, yeah. I could see it going either way, but it seems like a lot of splits happen with the Mets. So, alrighty. As for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 206-82. And today I've got going Yadier Molina, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien, Austin Riley, Jay Cronenworth, J.P. Crawford, Gene Segura, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Josh Harrison, and Luke Voigt. And I got Chris Bassett on the mound. I might make some moves to get another pitcher. But some updates on the injury front. So Josh Harrison Hand isn't starting Wednesday's game against Cleveland. That was yesterday. We'll see how that goes. And Avisail Garcia Garcia was diagnosed with a bruised left hand Wednesday after undergoing x-rays. Adam McCalvey of MLB Network reports. So he's not going to be in the lineup. And then, other than that, no other updates there except an update on Bregman. Actually, I've already read that update. I read that yesterday. So, no new updates there. And an update on... No update on Cole either. So, we had an update yesterday on Cole. No new updates there. But yeah, other than that, that's really it. Fantasy baseball going well. Might put Will Smith in over Yachty or Molina. I just assumed with Will Smith, late game last night, Dodgers-Phillies got delayed and all that stuff, and back-to-back really late games. I could see the Dodgers giving him a day off, so they might. But if they don't, he'll probably be back in there because he's the main guy. So we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But pitching is key. I kind of kicked myself because if I was this big on pitching earlier in the year, I probably would have won a lot of more games. But, and now I know for the playoffs and the most crucial part of the season. So that should be good. But, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for the podcast here today. So, another good podcast. Everybody enjoy the MLB Field of Dreams game tonight. Oh, by the way, there's 2 NFL games on. Eagles, Steelers. Give me the Eagles. And Washington, Patriots. Give me Washington. Yeah, so those are the 2 games on tonight. Washington and Patriots are on NFL Network. Steelers, Eagles looks like they aren't. Give me the Steelers and give me Washington. So, some preseason games. Nothing major, but hey, football's back. Football's right around the corner. I have a lot more football stuff going. There's some Michael Thomas and Saints stuff going on, but I don't know if I'm gonna talk about it because it's just I find that we get ourselves into this every year where you have a player that's not happy with the situation that the team is in, and then you get all the drama, and then nothing ever comes out of it. So I might talk about it, but it's one of these other times where there's a ton of drama, social media is involved, and then, it ends up happening where he'll play for the team and everything will go great and all that stuff. But I might get into it. But there's a lot of football stuff. Some Jet stuff I want to get to. Just some updates, too, because, there's so much baseball going on and some of that. There is some Jet stuff I want to get to. Along with, a lot of others. There's a lot of other topics to talk about. So, lot to get to. Like I said, I always try to get it to all. I try my best to talk about the biggest topics. Sometimes I get all of them. Sometimes there's so much news that I don't get to all of them, or I get to them, but little by little. So, I wanted to get to the Nets today because, that's some stuff that in a week from now, it will be old news at this point. I want to get to the Field of Dreams because this is the only time it's happening is today. This is the only game. Now, it could happen next season. I don't know if they're going to do it next season. I don't know what the plan is for that. But I want to get to the Field of Dreams because, it's the games today. So, I'm not going to talk about it tomorrow. And, I will talk about it tomorrow, but, I'm not going to talk about, previewing it, if it is. But, yeah, it should be good. I'm excited for the game tonight. Yankees, White Sox. Things will be fun. Like I said, close game. I don't want to blow out. For all the how much this is getting hyped up, last thing you want is a blowout. Because, it's just like all the fans that are all getting excited about it, including myself, and, the history behind the movie and all that stuff, and we've been waiting for this. It's like, last thing you want is the bottom of the third inning, it to be like a 10-0 game already. And the team that's let up 10 runs being on their 4th pitcher. That's the last thing you want. So, I'm hoping that it's a close game, and that's kind of it. Sure, if this was at White Sox place, sure, beat them 10-0. But the fact that it's you could look at it easy way. You could look at it either way, rather. You could look at it and say, I would like the Yankees to crush the White Sox on national television, or you could look at it as, how much this is getting hyped up, this event, and the history and all that stuff going into this event. To have it be 10-0 in the bottom of seconds, kind of like, because then the next 8 innings really mean nothing. I think it would be pretty cool if in the bottom of the 8th or the top of the 8th, fans are on their edge of their seats, second and third one out, and Judge steps up to the plate, or LeMahieu steps up to the plate, and it's a tie game at 1-1. Like, that's something that would be interesting. But you could also say, we want a lot of action. There's all sorts of fans. I'm just hoping for a good game, hoping for a Yankees win. Like I said, I'm not going to, I think the event's great. I think it's all cool, but it's going to be even better if the Yankees get a win. If they don't get a win, the events and stuff's still cool, but it won't be as enjoyable if the Yankees get a win. But I'll still enjoy it. But hoping for a Yankees win, hoping for a good game, big game. I mean, this is a big series. Like all things aside, with the Field of Dreams and all the stuff that's going into this is a big series for the Yankees. Like I said, it might get lost in the mix with the Field of Dreams and stuff, but this is a huge series. So the Yankees got to win these games. This is big series. So enjoy the Field of Dreams tonight. That'll do it for the podcast. As always, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.